All right, so let's dig in a little bit deeper in a Microsoft Teams meeting. So once you're connected, in this particular case, I have a join button. So I'm just going to join the meeting. You'll see that the screen changes because now we're in a meeting, so we have a lot more controls, functions, features, etc. So let's walk around the screen a little bit, starting from bottom left-hand corner. There is a Cortana option, so voice command options that you could use by pressing Cortana. To the right, there is a square divided into 4 boxes. That's your layout button. Right now it's grayed out because the room is connected to a meeting, but there's nobody else connected. As soon as you start adding more participants and content and things like that, your layout button will give you more options. Do you want to go full screen on content or change your layout configurations? If we keep going down the line, you'll see that there's the hand wave button, suggesting that you have a question or that you'd like to jump into the conversation. There's your emojis, smiley faces, and things like that. And then there's an options button with the 3 little dots. When you click on that, it'll give you a list of different other options you can interact with. So you can turn live captions on and off. And the second option here, this is the one I wanted to talk about a little bit, is called room controls. So Yealink has been a Microsoft Teams partner for a very long time, and they have an application that runs in the background that lets you control some of the devices. In this case, it's going to be the camera. So let's click on room controls. So you can see that in the top left-hand corner, it says camera control, and in the bottom or in the middle, it says tracking feature is enabled. So if you hit the little settings wheel, you can change your tracking of your camera from off. Once it's off, you can manually control your camera and zoom it in, zoom it out. Sometimes the auto framing features, based on the user in the room, they may not like the auto framing feature. So instead, you can go to a fixed shot and leave it at that. We can click on the little settings icon, go back to tracking mode, and then track the framing or speaker tracking. So auto framing is going to be the individuals in the room. So if there's one individual, it'll zoom into that one. If there are 2, 3, 4, it'll frame out until all participants are in the frame. And speaker tracking is what it sounds like. Whoever's speaking, the camera will do its best to identify that person and kind of focus in on that person. As someone else speaks, the camera will move out and go towards the other person. So there's some good AI built into this camera and into this feature. We're going to exit out of the room controls, go back into the 3 dots, and you'll see that there's some other options here. Don't show chat bubbles, turn off incoming video, and so on and so forth. They're not widely used features. Continuing on the bottom row, there's a minus button, a speaker icon, and a plus button. So that's your volume control for in the room. When you either press plus, the volume will go up, minus, your volume will go down, and if you hit the speaker icon, it'll mute your volume completely. So let's go ahead and unmute. Next is the camera icon. By default, it's on. If you click it, it'll go off. That means that anyone on the far end won't see your video. Uncheck it or unclick it, and the camera will come back on, and everyone will come back to seeing your video. Next to that is a microphone icon. Same thing. Click on it, it mutes. Click on it again, it unmutes. You'll notice that there is a visual on the table microphones here that when you mute, or in this case unmute, it's green, and then mute, it's red. So you have a visual indicator on the table of whether or not you're muted or unmuted. If you have any questions, just look at the touch screen and you'll see a dash across the mic symbol, and that tells you you're on mute. The next button is your sharing button. When you click the sharing button, it's going to give you 2 options, a connected device or Microsoft Whiteboard. So for a connected device, it's just like when we talked about in the presentation video. Just simply connect your device using HDMI or USB-C or the wireless dongle, and the system will auto-detect it and send it through. However, you also have the option of launching Whiteboard. Now, Whiteboard is It depends on the workflow of your organization, if Whiteboard is something that's used or not. In this particular room, we can launch Whiteboard, but the screen isn't interactive, and so there's no real way of interacting with Whiteboard. But other individuals that are part of the meeting, someone sitting at home or at their office, on their laptop, on their tablet, they can interact with the Whiteboard quite easily. And if you're in the room here, you could connect your own laptop and interact with the Whiteboard so everybody can see it. It just depends on your meeting content type. If you're very collaborative, Whiteboard will be part of your workflow. If you're more presentation focused, then Whiteboard won't be part of your workflow. And the last button is the hang up button. That's going to go ahead and end the call. One more thing before we end the call is at the top, you'll see on the right-hand side, it showcases the participants. If you ever wanted to add a participant, typically the best way is to add a participant that's part of your organization. You would just start typing the participant's name. So in this case, let's say I would like to invite myself, Jean-François. As I start typing the name, the organizational directory comes up. I can choose myself and invite, and then I would get that invitation wherever I'm at. And that's it. Those are pretty much your in-room call controls. So I'm going to go ahead and end this call and hope you have a great meeting.